All right, welcome to episode 19 of PTBOCanada Live. My name is Mike Judson. I will be your host. Once again, I just wanted to thank our sponsor, Ben Van Veen Realty. The great thing about Ben Van Veen Realty is that he's one of these guys where if you want to sell your house, what he'll actually do for you is he'll pay for contractors to go in and like fix all the things that need to be fixed with your house. And then I guess the idea is that he'll sell it for more money then, and then for the more money you can pay off whatever. So it kind of really helps out. Nice. Ben Van Veen, he's an awesome dude. Check him out at benvanveen.realtor. Thank you very much for sponsoring the podcast. And now I'm going to move on to our guest for today. And thank you for joining me on this rainy Sunday afternoon. And it's really cold. We're almost into the first week of June. And it's like 10 degrees as a high for today. It's absolutely brutal out there. But we're inside a nice warm garage down in the south end of Peterborough, our new headquarters, my garage for the podcast. And so joining me now is a guy that a lot of you know, and probably a guy that a lot of you haven't heard from in a while, because I understand you're relatively private these days. You kind of keep to yourself. Yeah. But at one point, you weren't overly private because your life was under a microscope, especially here in Peterborough and Canada and abroad. Joining me now is James. I wanted to call you James McKenty for a second.
Happens a lot.
Does it really?
Oh yeah, totally.
No, Tommy Street joining me from drummer for the Spades. The Spades, No More. It was 2 years ago. You guys did your farewell concert at the Hootenanny on Hunter Street. I happened to be the MC that night, and we were looking at each other a second ago. I'm like, I recognize you. You recognize me, but I don't think we've actually formally met. So nice to meet you, and thanks for coming on the podcast.
Nice to meet you too, man. Thanks for having me.
So a lot has changed in your life over the last little while. I'll give. I don't want to focus too much on the Spades because you guys have done so many interviews about the Spades. But I mean, it's still a huge part of your life, I'm
Definitely,
sure.
Yeah.
You guys were at the point where you had. You were touring with Matthew Good. You had. You still have ties with the Tragically Hip, and with the Sam Roberts band. You guys played. You guys have played Massey Hall, which, by the way, is absolutely like friggin' incredible.
Oh man, it's like an experience I'll never ever forget. Definitely,
I couldn't imagine. I mean, you get the likes of Canadian legends like Gordon Lightfoot who play that like every single year, twice a year, and you guys are up on that stage. That's really cool. So you went through this long spanning career, and then things changed for you, and that's why I got in touch. Well, your wife got in touch with me, and we were talking with each other. And as I kind of delved a little bit more online and delved into your blog as well, things have really changed for you. So you came in today. You have a cane. And you've had this cane for a while now. Yeah. And I guess this was kind of where the demise for the Spades started. Mm-hmm. And you still don't know what it is.
Not, it's funny. Like originally when it began, I did get a formal diagnosis in the beginning. And then things kind of went haywire, took a turn for the worse, and they were like, well, I don't know. Now we don't know if that's what it was actually, and we can't really. I did a million tests, they couldn't figure it out. But after about I'd say a year and a half of testing and every kind of test you could possibly imagine, they finally came back to saying, okay, we're pretty sure what happened is that it was your original diagnosis, and then there was complications and just. You pushed yourself too hard, things happen and got worse. And so I have what I say is I have like an 80% diagnosis. Like okay. it's not really, there's no sure thing there. And there is definitely, the aspect of sort of fighting this unknown ghost, if you will, because I don't really know. So I have to kind of go on my own path that way. But in general, I can kind of hang on to this little piece of, possibility that there's others like me, sort of, thing.
So to kind of break it down a little bit, it's a musculature thing, right?
Yes.
And is it degenerative or?
When it first happened, and now, like I said, they went back to this diagnosis as something called Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is an autoimmune disorder that does affect your nervous system. So your immune system attacks your nervous system.
Okay.
So it kind of goes into overload. You go paralyzed and lots of pain, and then you have to kind of, recover from that. It usually only happens once or maybe twice. There is certain times where it does reoccur, and that's something called CIDP. But
like paralyzed, like your whole, like you can't get up.
Can't move a muscle.
Seriously?
Yeah.
And how often, does this happen often, or is this something that's just happened a couple of times?
For me, so that happened the first time, and then about 9 months later, it happened again, and then I was hospitalized again for a couple of weeks, and then that kind of triggered this whole, I don't know what you call it, like downward spiral into absolute insanity, where they put me on certain medications at that time, basically to try and see if that would work. If this works, then maybe it's this kind of thing, know, which is a very dangerous game to play. And I think, many factors, whatever sort of that between the medications and not taking care of myself, still trying to push myself way too hard.
And this is all while you're still playing with the band?
No, at this point, we had done a couple shows after the first onset, but they were really hard for me, and it was getting increasingly harder to keep up, trying to maintain that level of energy.
Well, you're a drummer, and the drummer's the hardest working guy in any band, and you're using pretty much every muscle for an entire set, and even for rehearsals, whatnot. So was it something that like kind of hit slowly, or is it all of a sudden just bam, one day you're just on your ass?
More or less it was one day, I kind of felt the first time I felt some unusual pain, this one day, and my left shoulder, I couldn't really raise it. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't working properly, basically. I thought maybe I had some sort of, weird virus or something. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go home, take it easy. And then within about 8 hours, like I'd fallen asleep, gone to bed and everything. I woke up paralyzed, all this pain. Thought, like, am I dying? Like, what's going on? I have no idea. Went to the hospital. They diagnosed me with Guillain-Barré. And then, like I said, 9 months later, another episode happened, I guess you'd call them. And then this downward spiral happened. It happened another, I think, 7 times within about 9 or 10 months. It was like, for a little while, it was almost once a month it was happening. And each time it would happen, it's like it would take me longer to recover. It's like my muscles would go,
Were you losing weight and
losing a lot of weight, and just like less energy, less strength, longer to recover each time, kind of thing. And then it got to the point where I finally just took it into my own hands and started seeking out Tai Chi and Qi Gong. I'd heard about that they're really helpful for people with like muscular kind of problems.
Right.
And once I took that in my own hands, and I quit all the drugs, the medications. I call them drugs, really, because
they are drugs.
They're drugs.
They're drugs, and I've known people whose family have been addicted to things like barbiturates and different drugs, and it ruined their lives.
Yeah.
And so you were probably on all sorts of different cocktails trying to get through.
It was crazy, and that was an experience unto itself as well. Trying to get off of the medications. Like full on withdrawal symptoms, and it took like about I'd say 2 months to get sort of back to feeling like I was kind of myself. Like it was really hard.
Now you talk about a downward spiral into insanity, to quote you just a moment ago.
Yeah.
Did a lot of that have to do because the Spades were like on the I guess on the precipice of a breaking big, like going North American huge, and then this happened? Was it like a matter of like just depression and confusion and everything that just kind of sent you down that road?
Yeah, I think the combination of not knowing what's happening and having lived this life of a high energy drummer, and just person in general, like all day long, like let's go, like, to having not being able to do anything, basically, basically bedridden, or I was in a wheelchair for a number of months. And so, those kind of things, definitely, it was affecting me, emotionally and psychologically, for sure. And, career-wise, it was like putting the stops right on everything, and so it was hard to deal with. But I think also that, the medications that I was on were kind of turning some wheels that may not have been turning otherwise, sort of too. And so it was a lot of kind of combinations of things. But there was I'd say about 9 months that depression was setting in, and it was just hard to deal with anything, like life in general. Waking up in the morning was like, I'm in pain. Am I going to go paralyzed today? My whole life's in shambles, basically.
And when I mean, being around someone who's going through this has got to be super tough. But you've had people to lean on as well. Who you've been leaning on to help you through this?
Oh, I think mostly like my wife Ash has been my biggest supporter, like driving me to the hospital like all the time, and doctor's appointments all over across Ontario, and just really supportive of my decision to go, kind of leave Western medicine behind and find my own way.
Yeah.
But and then I've had a couple great teachers along the way too, that obviously incredibly supportive. And even I actually I was seeing I guess, is he a psychiatrist or psychologist? I don't know.
Therapist, maybe?
Therapist, I guess. A family friend that I just, sort of like a confidant almost, just as I was going through all these things, like, okay, maybe I should talk to somebody. And luckily I have this person to lean on. And he's an excellent therapist. And he was very supportive as well of finding my own direction inside of this situation, kind of.
How important is it to have someone who's kind of unrelated to your life that you can just pour everything from inside of you out onto them? Because there are probably some things that you can say to that person that you can't say to anyone else.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah, so it's good. It's definitely good to have someone to kind of unload, like you say, and just, because you don't want to sort of burden the people closest to you with every little thing that's bothering you, especially when, like, we have a young family.
Yeah. 3 kids?
3 now, yeah.
Oh, so who's the new one?
Llewellyn.
Llewellyn?
Yeah, he's
awesome name, by the way.
Yeah, thanks, man.
You ever read No Country for Old Men?
No, actually.
Someone's definitely mentioned that, though.
Yeah, definitely. And I saw the movie. I saw one of the characters' name, and I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
But
well, I'm also a new dad.
Yes.
And his name is Tommy.
Right.
So
Cool.
Well, I'll bring him in the garage after.
Yeah.
But so you've got this young family, you've got this like supportive wife taking care of you, and you're spiraling into this depression, and you're having addiction problems with drugs that are being prescribed to you. You're also smoking and drinking at the time, or did
I hadn't. I stopped drinking basically right after the first onset, and I also quit smoking at that, like cigarettes at that time, because with the drinking, I tried having like a couple sips of alcohol, and it would just affect me really strangely.
Really,
yeah, it would just, like, instantly I could feel my muscles sort of lose control.
that happens to me when I drink too.
Yeah, no, I think it happens to everybody.
But
it was like I was just way more susceptible. Like, it would literally be like 5 sips, like I just get to the bottom of the neck, and I would start feeling these feelings.
Yeah, okay.
So I was like, okay, this isn't good for me. So I, just quit, and the smoking just was something I wanted to quit anyway, and it was a good sort of wake up call to do so. But I did continue smoking marijuana. So I had smoked it for a long time, and it always seemed to sort of work with me.
Yeah.
And then, it eventually sort of was helping me deal with the pain I was finding, because it's a daily pain, like constant, basically, So it wasn't that it was like killing the pain or anything like that, but it sort of helped me escape it throughout the day. But unfortunately, then I started abusing that like quite seriously as well, and
that would affect your mental state big time.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, always kind of slow and dreamy, sort of, like not really there, you know.
Do you see the medicinal benefits of marijuana?
Oh, I definitely do.
Yeah, hey?
I definitely do, because, you know, just especially when it was really in the thick of it, you know, when the pain was quite unbearable throughout the day. I think if I was just trying to quit the medications like on their own, you know, like painkillers and all that kind of stuff, if I didn't have the marijuana at that point, I don't think I would have been able to.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look at that.
Yeah, because it kind of, you know, well-being, like sort of like kind of got me through that period, you know? And so medicinally in that sense, I definitely think it was better for me than the medicine that I was getting from Western medicine doctors, you know?
What kind of drugs were you taking?
Painkillers, like
morphine.
Morphine. What's the other one? That was Perks is the one that actually, like, I was getting quite addicted to.
Yeah. And it was just as soon as you felt pain, just pop a couple Perks and then veg out, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it worked, right? Like, it was kind of thing like, you know, I'd be in so much pain. Oh, I can't even go out. I can't even try to go outside, you know, but then I would take a perk and, okay, now I can try to go out, 'cause, you know, but that's a very dangerous game to play, right? And they also had me on like some other medications that were more for like nerve pain relief as well.
Yeah.
And the depression that goes along with all these types of things too. So there's all these different.
So I could see how the marijuana would help with the depression as well. Not really so much with the pain, maybe a little bit with the pain. So that's very interesting. And then so you use that to help you get yourself off of all of these Western medicines. Mm-hmm. Who introduced you to the Eastern medicines?
Well, I had actually started meditating. I don't know how many years ago now. I guess maybe 8 or 9 years ago. That was actually following my younger brother's death. Actually, it was something I just turned to help me deal with that. So I had been meditating for a number of years, and so slightly familiar with those approaches a bit more.
Yeah.
But the actual Qi Gong and Tai Chi, I don't really know exactly. I remember my mom suggesting it. Like Tai Chi is something I'd actually always been interested in for some reason since I was a young kid.
I've had interest just because, you know, you walk by a park, like especially like downtown Toronto or something. There's like 70, 80 people all slowly doing these movements. Yeah. And I'm like, what is going on over here? Yeah. It just looks so strange, but they all look so serene while they're doing it.
Definitely. And healthy as well. Like these are, you know, mostly like the, you know, Western sort of image of Tai Chi is mostly older people doing these exercises, but it is for really any age. But it's that you can continue doing it into old age is the good thing about it. You know, you can keep doing these exercises till the day you die, really. Kind of
it's not like these people have just started it in their old age. They've probably been doing it for forever.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, most people, like especially if you're from China or that kind of thing, you know, it's more ingrained in the culture. But the actual, like the Qigong was the sort of really foot in the door that I think started enabling the healing process to start working for me.
Okay.
And it's kind of more, it's similar to Tai Chi, but it's basically based on regulation of the body, so postures and gentle movement, which is sort of similar to Tai Chi in that sense. Regulation of breathing, so you breathe, you know, in and you make this move, and you breathe out and you make this move, kind of thing. And then regulation of the mind, and that's so focus and kind of, you know, clarity and calmness, I guess, those kind of things. Though I really found that as soon as I started taking that in my own hands and practicing Qi Gong and some Tai Chi as well, that things started to change.
Really?
Pretty quickly, yeah.
What sort of things changed? Because I mean, you at this point you've quit all the drugs and you've stopped smoking weed because of whatever. You've moved into Qigong. Who got you into it, or where do you practice it?
Well, first I started with. Okay, sorry. You know what? Now I remember. So I went to see a Chinese medical doctor, Dr. Weir in Peterborough.
Okay.
Weir Han, and she suggested Qigong, and there was actually a person in town specifically that she suggested by the name of Lucy Bissonnette, and she teaches a certain type of system that's more in the meditation side. There's sort of more in the Taoist meditation side,
okay,
which is sort of like inner smile, like you're smiling into your organs, and very very positive type focus of the mind on healing, really.
Okay.
And there's other ones like healing sounds and.
Is there? Oh, I got to ask because I am unfamiliar with Qigong. Is there a gong?
Gong?
Yeah.
No, gong actually means it's actually pronounced gung or even kung, as in kung fu.
Okay.
Which means skill or cultivation. So and qi is vital energy,
right,
of your like life force energy, and then gong or gung or kung is cultivation or skill. So that's kung fu is skill as well.
Okay.
It's building skill.
So my ignorance shines through. I thought like every session would start with like the banging of a gong, and then because there is a way for meditation with gong as well,
definitely.
We're taking the sound and energy.
Yeah.
But I guess gong meaning skill doesn't reflect gong as in the instrument or the instrumentation of that.
No, but
okay.
I can see how you think that, and sound is definitely a part of many forms of Qigong.
Yeah.
But there is the thing is there's actually thousands of forms of Qigong. And,
wow.
It's been around for about 3,000 years or possibly 5,000. They can't really pinpoint it exactly, but Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought.
No, it's all right. I was going to say, when it comes to Eastern philosophy, there's a guy I've been reading on for years and years. I was introduced to him listening to a band called, they're like this kind of math rock band called Giraffes. Actually, it's Giraffes ? Giraffes !
Interesting.
Giraffes! Cool. And they're an amazing band, and they had this one clip of a guy speaking, and I listened to that clip. I'm like, that's amazing. So I went online and I tried to find out where it was from, and it's from a philosopher named Alan Watts. And if you're not familiar with Alan Watts, he was one of the first people in the 1950s to bring Eastern philosophy to the West.
Okay.
And a lot of the things that you're saying right now are kind of resonating with the things that Alan Watts says. So if you're not familiar, I'll turn you on to him. I've got like volumes of his stuff, but I'll give you a book set
awesome.
because I think you'd really like it.
Cool.
So you said that Qigong is. You saw like a marked difference immediately. What kind of differences are you feeling now?
Well, so like I said, in the beginning, I was practicing in town, learning with Lucy Bissonnette, and I just started to notice basically a general sense of well-being right away. And I think that largely is based on just taking it into my own hands, and but also I think the practices were sort of grounding and allowing this sort of inner healing to start working, Also the movements of the Tai Chi sort of strengthening certain muscles and sort of stability, better for balance. But then I kind of I was still having the odd kind of relapse type situation where I would start feeling more pain, and then the weakness would start to set in. So I started searching out sort of beyond Peterborough and looking for genuine masters that in certain types of systems that were more geared towards muscle regeneration. And then I found Master Helen Wu, and she teaches out of Scarborough. And she teaches this form of Qi Gong developed by her grandfather, who is this amazing Chinese hero during the Cultural Revolution and all that kind of time. He's a Qi Gong master, Kung Fu master, Tai Chi master,
Cool.
and also a medical doctor. So this whole system, this family system, they have developed over 3 generations, and it revolves around this therapeutic Qi Gong, which focuses on the spine, like strengthening and the spine column right from the head to the base, and then your limbs from there. And once I started doing that system is when I really started noticing difference physically. Being able to walk further, less pain.
You doing it at home too?
Yeah, so I go every couple of weeks to Master Wu's studio, and then I practice about 3 hours a day, an hour in the morning, an hour in the afternoon, an hour at night. Mostly Qigong, but also in there is about an hour of Tai Chi, and now I'm doing even certain bits of Kung Fu as well. Like
really,
it's a great way for me, especially, and I think for many people, but especially recovering from an illness, because it's one-on-one teaching. So I go, it's strictly, okay, how are you doing with this, and okay, so she can see how my energy is and where I've improved, and okay, so now let's incorporate this into your training, and so it's a constant progression. And every time I come from one of those lessons, it takes me a couple of days to get used to the new thing that has been added, because it's muscles you never even knew you had, really, and especially everything is basically hard for me anyway. So, but then within a couple of weeks, get used to that new element, and then move on to the next, and the progression has been remarkable in my opinion. It's been about 8 months that I've been training with her, and I've come a long way for sure. I still bring a cane around with me.
Yeah.
But sometimes I don't really need it, and actually I more bring it around in case I have to stand,
just in case,
for a sort of longer period of time. It gives me something to lean on, but I'm starting to try to incorporate these like hiking poles into because you can carry them in a bag, and then you have them with you. You can go out and try to see how far you can get without using sort of an aid, and that's my new thing. I haven't really taken it too far yet, but
do you have the poles?
Yeah, I didn't bring them with me today, but
Right.
I have them, and I just haven't really had the opportunity to use them that much, because most of my life is still quite
Confined.
I'm in my house. I'm practicing most of the day. I take long breaks in between. With a young family, there's lots of stuff to do there.
Yeah.
I don't really do that much or go many places. I don't really, so hasn't been a lot of opportunity to use them. But I have plans that this summer I'm gonna start going up to Nichols Oval and seeing how far I can walk around the oval and without them, and then with them, and so I can start to really track the results that much better.
Do you have that fear that like you're going to go through all of this work and see all this improvement, and then just one morning you're going to wake up and you're going to be paralyzed again?
Well, that's the interesting thing, is for a long time that fear was basically still always there, and because there was sort of these relapses happening, it was like, is this going to happen again? Or I'd start feeling better and getting a bit better, and then something else would happen. But since I started training with Master Wu, I haven't had a relapse. Not at all. So 8 months without really any steps backwards. I've had a couple of plateaus, but that's sort of natural in the progression of healing. You're not going to just go from A to B. You're kind of it's up and down here and there, and sort of flat line. But
you talk about the plateaus in your blog, which we haven't met. I think I mentioned briefly off the top here. Where can I find your blog again?
QiStreet.org, and that's QI, which is how you spell Qi in Chinese pinyin, I think it is. And then street, as in my last name, .org.
Okay. What inspired you to start this blog?
Well, I think a big part of it was, like you said in the beginning, I'm a lot more private now than I used to be, and I'm almost a hermit in a sense, like I don't really talk to a lot of my friends even, and it's not anything against anybody at all.
You're dealing with a heavy burden, and you don't want to give it to anyone else.
No, and it's hard to talk about on a daily basis. Like everyone wants to, how are you doing? And then they want to ask, and have they found out yet? And it ends up sort of draining my energy just talking about it.
I'd see that fueling the depression because
exactly.
No, it's we don't know what it is yet. And you just kind of separate and focus, I guess, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I find it easier just to kind of not talk to a lot of people and just focus on my own health and my own situation and, my family. Like, they help me get it through. Like, kids are amazing, as you know. Like, a little smile will change your whole day, right? And
so is this just a matter of this blog is kind of your way of reconnecting with everyone?
Yeah, definitely at first it was right away. I wanted to be able to tell people how I'm doing, but without talking to them all the time about it, So I can kind of say to my friends or family, like, just go check this out. This is sort of my thoughts on how everything is. I write about just my experiences, and it's mostly revolves around the Qi Gong and Tai Chi, and that was sort of the secondary element of it, was to kind of track my progress, so that down the road I can clearly, say to other people, like, this is how I did it, and here's the proof. I wrote about it, the whole sort of journey, and because I think that a lot of this kind of stuff isn't very well known in our culture,
right?
And there's a real option that you don't have to just listen to your doctor's word as dogma, and they don't know everything. Like, Western medicine has only been around for a couple hundred years compared to these other modalities that are thousands of years old, that are tried and true, like empirical evidence, right? And so I think that part of me wants to open the door to this for anyone else that needs it, basically. Like, and a lot of people with chronic illnesses in particular, Western medicine really does not have a direct way of helping people with chronic illness. It's basically medication.
Keep you alive. You may not be yourself anymore.
Yeah, exactly. But there's no real treatment process that is truly effective. It's kind of like, I don't know, like, hopefully you get better. Like, how you doing today, Whereas these practices they deal directly with the root of the problem, and which is just your body, like bringing your body back into harmony. And in doing so, it brings your mind into harmony, and vice versa. You're training your mind, and you relax your mind, and your body feels better as well,
Well, just talking to you, you seem like you're just a very calm person, and like I'm getting like a whole bunch of positivity flowing across the table right now, which is a really cool thing, man.
Right on.
So something's obviously working, and you're feeling better. What's kind of your end game here? Do you have a goal that you want to get to?
Well,
or is it just that you just want to just kind of take this through the rest of your life?
I'm definitely going to take this the rest of my life. I'll never stop practicing Tai Chi and Qi Gong, and it gets a lifestyle, and also just the clean living, sort of the like kind of like moral character building side of it as well.
Do you ever think you were going to be straight edge when you were playing in the Spades years ago?
No, I definitely did not. Like, I thought, even when I was, in the thick of the illness, smoking weed all day long, and, thinking like, I guess I'm going to have to smoke weed the rest of my life. Like, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this, But, definitely in the, the height of the Spades times, like, I couldn't see that anyway. Actually, I thought I was better when I was drinking and smoking weed. Like, I really thought that I functioned better, like, definitely performance-wise.
Right.
with alcohol. And,
What do you think now? Do you think you could have been better if you were straight edge back then?
I don't know. I mean, because there's certain side of it that, creatively, marijuana, it opens sort of different aspects.
Yeah.
And I found it to be like I would, all of a sudden, if I smoked some weed and then played, I'd get these ideas that I didn't have 5 minutes before, kind of thing, So, but at the same time, saying that now, since I haven't smoked weed in 8 months now, and haven't drank in a long time, many years really, I find I still get creative ideas coming to me so I guess I'm kind of surprising myself, like when you think about it, when I started playing when I was like 10 years old, and creativity just flows inside you when you're that age,
Oh, absolutely.
And so I think, I don't know, it's hard to say, but
I'm sure they lend to each other. I mean, there are certain aspects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the real question is like how far you take it. Like, abusing something is not going to be good for you, but casually.
Yeah, everything within limitation,
Yeah,
I suppose.
exactly.
So what's your relationship with music now?
I don't play a whole lot of music. I more play music just with my kids. I'll pick up the guitar and make up a song with them, and it's complete laughs and fun, and
Yeah.
and I teach them a little bit of drums here and there, and like little things, and I still have the occasional idea that will come to me, and I'll want to like pick up a guitar or just lay down a quick beat on the drums. But for the most part, it's physically demanding, especially the drums.
Whoa, absolutely.
I don't play on a full kit. I just have this little tiny baby drum kit that I'll just like throw down a little beat on, and that's good enough for me, sort of, for now.
I think like a djembe or like even some bongos would be good, or at least therapeutic, right? Because drumming in itself, and just like drumming has been around forever, with the origins in Africa, with the origins of music. It's good for the soul, right?
Definitely, yeah. And but I mean, it was weird for a long time. It was almost hard for me to play music, or even think about music, because of the switch in my life was so drastic, and that I couldn't really pursue it anymore as a career.
But you like gave it up. You're like, I'm giving up music, but it's something that you can't give up.
Yeah, I mean, I still love music, obviously, and it's just in me. I mean, like I said, like I'll pick up the guitar and I'll just start playing, or like incorporate different little instruments into like my drum kit. Like I started using a xylophone on the side of my drum kit so I could play melodies, and like I get these little things, like inspirations, but and it's completely natural. Like it's like second nature, but like I said, it was hard for me for a little while to play and to think about music, and now that's starting to change. It's starting to feel more comfortable to just go with the flow. If I feel like playing some music, I just do it, and I don't think about anything. I don't think about career. I don't think about am I going to do this professionally again or anything. It's just like, this is just fun.
Is there a piece of you that would be like, if I can really bring myself back to this mental state and physical state, something close to what I was before, that I would want to play professionally again?
Well, it's these days I've basically come to the conclusion that for the most part, the lifestyle that I was living as a musician, and just generally the lifestyle of a musician, like the late nights, long hours in the studio, the desire to drink or smoke or all those kind of things, that's just constantly right in your face as a musician. Touring, all those kind of things isn't really the lifestyle it's not a very healthy lifestyle. And I think for me, in my situation in particular, I don't think it would be healthy for me to try to go back to doing that full time, because, in Chinese medicine and Western medicine for that matter, once you've had an illness, you are susceptible to it happening again, even if you do recover, because your body, the pathways are created, especially with a chronic illness. So I wouldn't ever want to push myself to go down that road too hard,
Totally. And even with professional music these days, so with the way music is available now, and anyone can make it and put it anywhere, the only real way you can be successful as a musician is just gigging like an animal.
You got to go crazy with it. Yeah, you got to be so dedicated to it, and it takes it's a hard road.
Yeah.
And I just don't think I can do it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And even if I when I could. I say when because I really believe I will recover 100%. But I think at that point, it would be enjoyable to just, if I get called into a studio session, maybe for a couple hours, here's one song. Yeah, sure. I'll do that and totally love doing it. And maybe even the odd performance if there was the right situation came up. But as far as touring and the daily grind of it, I don't think I'll ever do that again.
Do you still work in music now?
Yeah, so I'm still running Seventh Fire Records, which I started. It kind of grew out of the Spades. We started a studio. It was called Pirate Radio Studios, and then Pirate Radio Records developed out of that. And I kind of took the helm on the record label side. And James really took the lead on the recording side of things.
Okay.
And Seventh Fire developed out of that. It was kind of my, I had a vision of doing these 7-inch vinyl releases, and this whole kind of dream built up. And so I started Seventh Fire Records. And the strange thing is that was a very pivotal time because I was still playing in the Spades. I was playing in a number of bands that we were recording with and releasing through the label. I was, co-producing a lot of sessions, and then I was running this business as well. I was working 18 hours a day, and going from, office to studio to a show, traveling, blah, 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 on. And that's when I got sick. And that's when it kicked in. I think I pushed myself beyond any humanly capability, and then that's when your body says, okay, you're done. So whatever you're susceptible to happening, that's what's going to happen. If you have a weak heart, you'll have a heart attack. If you have whatever it is, and fortunately, this is the universe gave me this situation of
the unknown.
Yeah,
some great artists that you guys are working with still, right? I think Melissa Payne is one of them. Yeah, she's been on the podcast. She performed there, and I see she's getting more and more success. So kudos to you guys for helping her out there too. Anyone else that you starting to work with now that you think might start coming up soon?
Well, right now I'm taking it pretty easy, to be honest. We finished up another series of 7-inch vinyl releases in March, and I kind of at that point I decided that I'm not going to plan anything for the next little while. I'm just going to, as things come up, if something comes up that's really worthwhile and I can fit it into my new lifestyle successfully, without pushing myself too hard, then I'll do it. But I'm not actively really pushing for any projects right now. Just to kind of give myself a little bit extra time to get my feet back under me. And but there will be more releases. There's things in the works that Express and Company was another artist that we've been working with. We might be doing a 7-inch with them.
Cool.
There's a project on the go with a filmmaker by the name of Jeremy Kelly.
Yeah, know the name.
He has a project. It's called Live Off the Floor.
Is this with the Weber brothers?
No, actually, that's another project.
That you guys are okay.
That, we're sort of helping promote. Weber brothers, we've done a release with as well. But yeah, he made a film of the Weber brothers. It's looking like it's going to be amazing. It's a great documentary. But yeah, he's got his hands in a lot of different things on the go, and he's working on a project called Live Off the Floor that we're gonna kind of co-produce.
Cool.
And probably put out 7 inches corresponding to these, bringing these sort of more well-known artists and pairing them with younger up-and-coming artists, and like sort of like doing like a 1-day shoot, and where we record it as well, and then probably put out a 7-inch or something like that. So those things are going to happen, but just naturally. Like I'm just trying to see whatever happens naturally is supposed to be, but I'm not going to like kind of push myself to make anything happen, you know.
This is good, and just a little while ago, you said that like I'm convinced like I'm going to be 100% eventually. Mm-hmm. How much of this right now for you in your life is strictly a mental game?
It's a huge part. Every single day I have to. That's why I do so much of the training too, because it regulates. Like I said in the beginning, it regulates things, and if I didn't do it, honestly, I think I would. It would be so easy to go back to being like a basket case. It's like, pain and weakness and fatigue and just dealing with everything. Even holding my son is really hard for me. Like to walk around and bounce him up and down. I can only do that for maybe 5-10 minutes, and then like I'm physically exhausted and my legs start to hurt. And so those things, like, if I wasn't constantly diligent about, these sort of meditative practices, and I think I would be in a lot worse shape.
Wow.
So it's a daily game, of keeping my mind straight and positive, but my teacher. She believes that within 3 years I'll be 100% recovered. That's her. Wow. That's her number. And the difference there is, like, with Western medicine, they can't give me any answers. They're like, we actually think you've reached maximum recovery. So that's when they're saying something like that, and then over here I'm getting this positive, like 3 years, 100% recovery, and within a year she says that I'll be doing a lot better, which I'm kind of on my way there right now. And
if just the mindset and positivity can do wonders physically. Oh yeah, I find.
Yeah, definitely. It's I guess they call it like a positive feedback loop. So if you're mentally positive and calm, then your body feels good as well. And if you're when you're working your body in the right way, correct posture, allowing for the right energy to flow the right way, and your organs are feeling good, your mind feels better too.
Yeah.
If your body feels better. So it's this positive cycle instead of the negative downward spiral like I was talking before, So, and then it kind of builds momentum as it goes as well. And so, yeah, it's definitely working for me, and I think it could work for many people in my situation too. So,
and just think about being 100% again. Just the things that would change in your life, especially you just mentioned like bouncing your baby boy. Is this your first boy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have 2 girls.
Yeah.
How old are they?
Isla turned 6 in July, and Juno just turned 4 last weekend.
All right, and then we got this little guy he's what now?
He's just over 5 months.
So pretty much the same age. Yeah. And I met him at the Silver Bean a little while ago with Ash. Okay. That was the first time I met Ash as well, or the second time. And like being able to like bounce him around is great. I mean, that's all my son wants.
Yeah.
What kind of differences have you seen with having a boy versus a girl? Because I think I'm going to end up having a girl. Maybe one. I'd like to.
Yeah.
But there were some things that happened with this guy that no one warned me about. I want to get your take on it.
Well,
and feel free to say whatever you want.
Well, firstly, I think the first thing that comes to my mind actually is more just the number of kids. Like, going from 1 child to 2 was a difficult transition, and then going from 2 to 3 was much easier.
Okay.
I found. Just because you're already kind of used to
I'm scared of going to 2 kids.
Well, that's what I mean. First one, you're already kind of like, wow, this is a whole different scenario now you're living in. You have this person to take care of, all the time. And then, adding another one to the mix is almost shocking, you know.
It is crazy. Well, I can't imagine.
And then, but the thing is, then adding the third into the mix is kind of, it was actually more of a balancing situation. Definitely for us, because we had the two girls and then now the boy.
Yeah.
It's sort of like balanced the energy in the house or something.
The boys are different, man.
They are.
The one thing that no one told me about, and sorry if this is going to get a little rude for any of our listeners here, I had no idea about baby boners.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know they happened.
Yeah.
So I'm changing his diaper one day, and I look down, I'm like, oh my God. And of course, the gland on the top is heavier than the rest. So the thing's like an out of control fire hose, and he's peeing all over the place in his face. I'm like, what is happening here?
Yeah.
So that would have been nice to know about. So anyone out there, if you haven't had a kid and you have a boy, yeah, it happens. And and then they start wrenching on it when they're it's just bizarre.
Yeah.
But either way, it's been really cool with him. Have you, are they easier than girls? I guess it's every baby's
right
different.
Now,
right?
it's, in the baby stage, it's kind of like they're babies, right? Like they're
useless lumps that sit around.
Eat and
selfish little jerks that just want whatever they want when they want it. Yeah,
exactly. But there's little sort of differences in sort of the feeling towards them, I guess, maybe. Like, with the girls, it's all just like, you want to dress them up. You want to make them just look pretty because it's just awesome. It's like, look at this pretty little thing, And then with the boy so far, I feel more like teaching him things already. Like, I'm already finding myself like sitting down at the drums with him and like putting the sticks in his hand and being like, let's do it, man.
Yeah, we sit down with the guitar all the time and just let him, put it into an open chord and he can just strum it and make a noise, that sort of thing. It's kind of cool.
Exactly. And I mean, I did that stuff with my girls too, but it's just sort of, there's different kind of relationship, I guess, that's just already developing on its own naturally. But, about the baby boner.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about that, actually, from like a Chinese medicine and Taoist side of things, is they say that's pure energy. Like that's because it's it's sort of sexual energy, which is called Jing. Yeah. In that realm, without any knowledge of why, right? There's no knowledge of sex or females or anything, and so it's just pure energy, they call that, and that's it's a good sign. It's like,
it's good on you, sir.
Yeah.
I'm like picturing like laser beams flying out of this thing in this pure energy baby boner. Oh goodness, I'm gonna look at that a completely different way now. Thanks for that. I appreciate it. All right, well, we've got a few more minutes here. I'm gonna ask you just some quick music questions, just because I want to. Who's your favorite drummer?
Oh, that's a tough one, man. I've had a lot of people I've really looked up to over the years, like even old jazz guys like Max Roach.
Yeah.
Good old Bonzo.
Yeah.
John Bonham. I think he might be my favorite drummer, to be honest. Just because of he can swing, in this real backbeat sort of way that just makes people move, He can
swing and he can crush it.
But he can hit them hard when he needs to. But he can also play real delicate if he needs to as well. And the beat always comes through with him. And that was always, with me, it's always about the beat, what that beat that just comes right strong, kicks you in the face kind of thing,
Who's the coolest guys or the coolest band that you ever played with? Like what was like a really cool band that kind of gave you the
like personal, like sort of personality wise,
or just like you were shocked that you were playing with these guys?
Well, definitely the Tragically Hip. I mean, when we opened up for them, I think 3 times or something like that. These big, huge outdoor festival things, and those guys. Yeah, like right from the beginning, going to their studio and starting to record with Gord Sinclair, their bass player, and it was always kind of one of those things like, wow, I can't believe we're actually doing this. This is like my childhood dream right here, you know? But as far as kind of like cool dudes, I guess you'd say, Sam Roberts is one of the coolest dudes you'll ever meet. I don't know if you ever got the chance to meet him.
I haven't met Sam. I had a couple of opportunities to interview him when I was living out in the East Coast, but they never panned out.
Yeah.
Scheduling issues. But he seems like he'd be a really just kind of a chill guy.
Yeah, really chill, but it's really interesting. Like I think the first time we played with them, you introduce yourselves and all that kind of thing. And like we were fans anyway. And, you don't really expect the guy to remember your name. Because you meet, you meet, like we're meeting all these people, like think about how many people these guys are meeting sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
But next time we played with him was like a year later. He walks up, calls us all by name. Hey, how you doing?
Wow.
Tommy, how you doing? James, how you doing? Chachi, right on. And it's like, how did you remember our names? Like, I can barely remember the guys in your band's names, and I'm a fan, kind of thing. So I don't know. He's just like one of these really special people that I think was meant to be where he is. That.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And Gord Sinclair came to the farewell show. He played with you guys at the Hunter Street Hootenanny on Hunter Street 2 years ago. Was that a really emotional night for you?
It definitely was. Like, I mean, even leading up to it, like Gord and a whole bunch of the guests that were coming
Benny
up.
Ruff was there.
Yeah, Benny Ruff. Matt Barber was there. Chris Coster, another Kingston musician that's amazing. I know I'm forgetting people, but there's a whole group of people that came over to my house before. We all just kind of like had some pizza and hung out and kind of, reminiscing and all that kind of thing. And even, within, like I knew I was going to do it. I knew I was going to go, but I didn't know what I was going to be capable of doing.
Right.
Pain and fatigue and all that kind of thing. It was heavy, and the emotional, I think, energy was sort of weighing on me a little bit too. And up until literally like 15 minutes before we were going down to go on stage, like I stayed at the house the longest. James stayed with me and drove me down, and I was still like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. And then that's when I first actually started taking the perks more. Like that's when I first took a perk that I took it, and then now I can do it. And so
that's where it started.
Side story, yeah. That
interesting.
Is. But like I'd been taking them occasionally up to that point, but that was the first time that I was like, oh, now I can just go do something without pain. But anyway, I didn't know if I was going to be able to do it, and I didn't. We kind of had this rough plan that I'd try to play one or two songs at some point during the show if I felt I could, kind of thing. And we had our good friend John Crown to play drums in my place. He's a guy that we've played with over the years. He's played guitar and a bunch of different stuff with us in different situations. But it was very emotional, obviously from the standpoint of, saying farewell to this, I think it was about 10 years, right around that time that we devoted to that band. But then also just the emotion of on a more personal level for me of, I'm saying goodbye to my actual career as well. Like, of like, I can't really play anymore or at that time, and so it was very, kind of bittersweet. It was an amazing show. It was. Oh,
there were a lot of people there to see you guys.
It was really remarkable. I love the 2 times we did the Hootenanny that you look out and there's that many people on Hunter Street. Something very uniting about it as like a Peterborough band with that large of a crowd in front of you on Hunter Street. You know?
It's amazing.
So I mean, many levels emotional, kind of thing. And, but it was interesting too when it was all over and, sort of sitting out back behind the stage and I'm like, okay, well, time for me to go home. I'm done. I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
And, so my wife drives me home and, I'd like hobble into the house and then realizing that like the rest of the guys are down there in the eye of the hurricane. Like basically I felt like I kind of like left them in this, situation of like, we're saying goodbye to all of, a lot of our fans.
And it's like, where the hell's Tommy?
Yeah. And I'm at home like trying to recover already sort of thing, just I remember that feeling being like, that was a very interesting feeling, thinking that they're all down there and I'm like just laying on the couch here.
That must have been hard. Yeah. But you know what? You're in such a better place now.
Yeah.
And I'm really, just having met you, I'm so just hearing this entire story. I'm really glad that you've found this way to become mentally stronger and physically stronger. And I can tell just like getting these positive vibes from you that you're headed in the right direction, and that you're going to be headed towards that 100%. And I'm going to keep following your blog.
Awesome.
And that's Qi Street, QIStreet.com.
.org.
.org. And you can go and read there. And for anyone who Tommy